Oh guys, it's pretty nice out here, but humid and hot at the same time. We got 347, 93 degrees Fahrenheit, 34 degrees Celsius, charging at 3 amp. I don't know how you Celsius guys determine what temperature is what. I mean, it's like you can have 22 and then 5 degrees more, you're smoking hot. I don't know. It's like ours has more of a wider range. Maybe if you live in a country with Celsius, you actually got point something degrees. I don't know. I'm gonna start on rebuilding a cg250. This is a push rod engine. As you can see here, here's a new rocker assembly. It uses push rods. And I got new piston rings. Go in there. New gasket set. One thing that's missing is like O-rings and little, the little seals for like the shifters and stuff. And the valve cover gasket is like a bead seal. It's not in here. New clutch. Put a clutch in it. Change out the single phase stator to a 3-phase stator. And change the rocker assembly. The rocker assembly that's in it's probably still good, but I'm just going to put it on a shelf. Put a brand new one in it. Alright, we got the rocker assembly off, which is 3 bolts. And took this bolt here out of the back side, which goes down through this. So you got to line this up. This right here holds the lower rocker arms. This engine uses 1 cam lobe to run 2 rockers. So there's 2 sets of rocker arms, a lower set and an upper set. Further I get into this, I'll show you. And then we got 4 head bolts. Now let me pause it for a second. Alright, so these are the head bolts. And it's kind of like after you pull the push rods out, which I'll show you those. Here's the push rods. After you pull all that off, it's kind of like a 2-stroke. It just, pulls apart. You don't really have much to deal with. There's no timing chain. And then the same way with the bottom. I think there's a screw on the other side. Alright, so I removed these 2 10mm headed bolts on the back side over here. And now this will pull off. Little one-handed things here. Alright, then we got the piston. And there's that 1 cam lobe right there. And then there's the lower rocker assembly. Never actually seen this engine run. I bought it on eBay. It was missing a side cover over here. And one of the things that kind of gives me a hint that it was really hot is that the intake manifold went on it. It had like an O-ring in it and it was completely melted. As far as the way this looks up here, pretty typical, I guess. Carbon buildup. The rings seem to be pretty good. They're pretty poofy. I'll just put this piston up somewhere later on down the road if I want to be cheap and just throw a piston in. Might use this one. Sides have a little bit of wear. Kind of hard to tell with the picture. One of the things I'm kind of looking at as I'm tearing this down is I want to find all these bolts. I found the four head bolts like this. I found those, but I got that little 200 and I really like to put it together, and so I kind of gotta, I was just sitting around here. I'm gonna try to find all these bolts that goes to it. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but at least I can get it together again. Alright, so I kind of made another little discovery here. This is also a 200, but you want to see how they lie. this 1 on here means 1 cylinder. The 67 means the bore, which if this was a 67 bore, it would be a 250. And this FMM means it has, I'm assuming it's like reverse. Hopefully this does have reverse. Never actually tried it, but these numbers here usually mean if it's just 4 gears or if it has reverse. But they lied. And if you look at the side of the jug, where it would say, it's ground. You can actually see where they took a grinder to it. So this engine also came on a bike that was, they lied like to sell it. You know, they stuck 250 on the side of the bike, ground off the size. This right here is the only thing that kind of doesn't make any sense. Like maybe it was going through process and was going to be a 250. But one of the things about it is this bolt pattern is different, which they could just be blank to begin with. And then you'd think the stroke would be different too, but it's possibly it's just bore. So the LT230 is going to have a 200 on it. Kind of sucks. So that also means that the gasket set that I have, the side case gaskets and the center gasket would be the same, but the head gasket and the cylinder gasket will be different. So I got to get a whole new gasket set for a 200, and my new piston won't work. Alright, so standing here thinking about it, these rings look great on here. I'll just clean the top of that piston off and just use this piston when I put it back together. I don't see anything wrong with these rings. I'll just have to get new gaskets and valve seals. I also want to change the valve seals out, which I'm kind of measuring. I measured these and they was something 0.5 millimeter, 5.5. I'm kind of hoping that 300EX valve seals will fit down in here. And most of the time actually when you have a smoking engine, it's valve seals, not rings. And the clutch, looks like my new clutch will go in here. There might not be anything wrong with this one, but I'm just looking at it and I'm going to freshen up an engine. Might as well put all new parts in it. And I'll put a new starter clutch in it as well. I went home and was watching what I've already filmed on this video, and you know, for editing and things. And there's one thing I kind of maybe didn't make clear. But the purpose of I need to find other duplicate hardware that's just like this. It's like in my buckets of bolts, because I actually have, you know, I have 2 of these engines, and this one here was pretty much, I took it apart for parts out of it for the other ones around here, and all the hardware that belongs to it got thrown in my buckets. So, you know, like while this one's taken apart, you know, I have a chance to find all the pieces to it. Which I've seen this screw here with a little tip on it in my bucket and kind of wondered where it did come from. So I think that one's going to be pretty easy to find. But I think I'm going to cut this off here, and this will be like part 1 to this rebuild on here. I also like to add, I was shopping around and I found one of these, or actually somebody has 2 of these pistons for $20 with the rings. And since I'm going to put that other engine together as well, I think I'm just going to put it together as like a backup. So I'll take this piston here and put it in it, and same way with like the used components that's still good in this, but I just want to put new in here. They'll go in that engine as a backup engine, and this will get all new parts. Another thing too, I found somebody is selling just this, the 2 gaskets for the head, and they even had the valve cover gasket included, and the little copper exhaust gasket. They also had that, and it was like $12 $13 delivered for those gaskets, and I'd like to get a few sets of those. But alright, well, I'll catch you guys later.